Okay. Alright, so then, yeah, without further ado, let's dig right into this, this wacky conspiracy theory that, Shakespeare did not actually write the Shakespearean plays. Okay, the present consideration of the Bacon-Shakespeare-Rosicrucian controversy is undertaken not for the vain purpose. Yeah, once again, I'd like to point out, I am taking most of tonight's show, or when I'm talking about this, out of Manly P. Hall's Secret Teachings of All Ages. Manly P. Hall's Secret Teachings of All Ages, lest I be accused of plagiarism. And I strive for intellectual honesty, ladies and gentlemen. I strive for intellectual honesty. That being said, let's dive right into it. Bacon, Shakespeare, and the Rosicrucians. The present consideration of the Bacon-Shakespeare-Rosicrucian controversy is undertaken not for the vain purpose of digging up dead men's bones, but rather in the hope that a critical analysis will aid in the rediscovery of that knowledge lost to the world since the oracles were silenced. There is a guy named W.F.C. Wigston. Well, shoot, okay. F that, that's boring. Okay, it is quite evident that William Shakespeare could not, unaided, have produced the immortal writings bearing his name. He did not possess the necessary literary culture. The town of Stratford, where he was reared, contained no school capable of imparting the higher forms of learning reflected in the writings ascribed to him. His parents were illiterate, and in his early life he evinced a total disregard for study. There are in existence but 6 known examples of Shakespeare's handwriting. All are signatures, and 3 of them are in his will. The scrawling, uncertain method of their execution stamps Shakespeare as unfamiliar with the use of a pen, and it is obvious either that he copied a signature prepared for him, or that his hand was guided while he wrote. No autographed manuscripts of the Shakespearean plays or sonnets have been discovered, nor is there even a tradition concerning them other than the fantastic and impossible statement appearing in the foreword of the Great Folio. A well-stocked library would be an essential part of the equipment of an author whose literary productions demonstrate him to be familiar with the literature of all ages, yet there is no record that Shakespeare ever possessed a library, nor does he make any mention of books in his will. Commenting on the known illiteracy of Shakespeare's daughter, Judith, who at 27 could only make her mark, Ignatius Donnelly declares it to be unbelievable that William Shakespeare, if he wrote the plays bearing his name, would have permitted his own daughter to reach womanhood and marry without being able to read one line of the writings that made her father wealthy and locally famous. The query also has been raised: where did William Shakespeare secure his knowledge of modern French, Italian, Spanish, and Danish, to say nothing of classical Latin and Greek? For in spite of the rare discrimination with which Latin is used by the author of the Shakespearean plays, Ben Jonson, who knew Shakespeare intimately, declared that the Stratford actor understood small Latin and less Greek. Is it not also more than strange that no record exists of William Shakespeare's having ever played a leading role in the famous drama he is supposed to have written, or in others produced by the company of which he was a member? True, he may have owned a small interest in the Globe Theatre or Blackfriars, but apparently the height of his thespian achievements was the ghost in Hamlet. That's right. The height of his thespian achievements was playing the ghost in Hamlet. In spite of his admitted avarice, Shakespeare seemingly made no effort during his lifetime to control or secure remuneration from the plays bearing his name, many of which were first published anonymously. As far as can be ascertained, none of his heirs were involved in any manner whatsoever in the printing of the first folio, after his death, nor did they benefit financially therefrom. Had he been their author, Shakespeare's manuscripts and unpublished plays would certainly have constituted his most valued possessions. Yet his will, while making special disposition of his second-best bed and his broad silver gilt bowl, neither mentions nor intimates that he possessed any literary productions whatsoever. While the folios and quartos usually are signed William Shakespeare, all the known autographs of the Stratford actor read William Shakespeare. Does this change in spelling? William Shakespeare. Okay, yeah, he misspelled in all of the autographs. He spelled Shakespeare Shakspeare when it's actually spelled Shakespeare. He misspelled William Shakespeare when he would give autographs. Does this change in spelling contain any significance heretofore generally overlooked? Furthermore, if the publishers of the first Shakespearean folio revered their fellow actor as much as their claims in that volume would indicate, why did they, as if in ironical allusion to a hoax which they were perpetrating, place an evident caricature of him on the title page? Certain absurdities also in Shakespeare's private life are irreconcilable. While supposedly at the zenith of his literary career, he was actually engaged in buying malt, presumably for a brewing business. Also, picture the immortal Shakespeare, the reputed author of The Merchant of Venice, as a moneylender. That's right, Shakespeare the moneylender. Yet among those against whom Shakespeare brought action to collect petty sums was a fellow townsman, one Philip Rogers, whom he sued for an unpaid loan of 2 shillings, or about 48 cents. In short, there is nothing known in the life of Shakespeare that would justify the literary excellence imputed to him. The philosophic ideals promulgated throughout the Shakespearean plays distinctly demonstrate their author to have been thoroughly familiar with certain doctrines and tenets peculiar to Rosicrucianism. In fact, the profundity of the Shakespearean production stamps their creator as one of the illuminati of the ages. Most of those seeking a solution for the Bacon-Shakespeare controversy, have been intellectuals. Notwithstanding their scholarly attainments, they have overlooked the important part played by transcendentalism in the philosophic achievements of the ages. The mysteries of superphysics are inexplicable to the materialist, whose training does not equip him to estimate the extent of their ramifications and complexities. Yet who but a Platonist, a Kabbalist, or a Pythagorean could have written The Tempest, Macbeth, Hamlet, or the tragedy of Cymbeline? Who but one versed in Paracelsian lore could have conceived a midnight summer dream? Okay, that brings us to Sir Francis Bacon. Father of modern science, remodeler of modern law, editor of the modern Bible, patron of modern democracy, and one of the founders of modern Freemasonry. Sir Francis Bacon was a man of many aims and purposes. He was a Rosicrucian. Some have intimated the Rosicrucian, if not actually the illustrious Father CRC, referred to in the Rosicrucian manifestos. He was certainly a high initiate of the Rosicrucian order, and it is his activities in connection with this secret body that are of prime importance to students of symbolism, philosophy, and literature. Scores of volumes have been written to establish Sir Francis Bacon as the real author of the plays and sonnets popularly ascribed to William Shakespeare. An impartial consideration of these documents cannot but convince the open-minded of the verisimilitude of the Baconian theory. In fact, those enthusiasts who for years have struggled to identify Sir Francis Bacon as the true Bard of Avon, might long since have won their case had they emphasized its most important angle, namely, that Sir Francis Bacon, the Rosicrucian initiate, wrote into the Shakespearean plays the secret teachings of the fraternity of R.C., and the true rituals of the Freemasonic order, of which order it may yet be discovered that he was the actual founder. A sentimental world, however, dislikes to give up a traditional hero, either to solve a controversy or to right a wrong. Nevertheless, it can be proved that by raveling out the riddle there can be discovered information of practical value to mankind. Then the best minds of the world will cooperate in their enterprise. The Bacon-Shakespeare controversy, as its most able advocates realize, involves the most profound aspects of science, religion, and ethics. He who solves its mysteries may yet find therein the key to the supposedly lost wisdom of antiquity. It was in recognition of Bacon's intellectual accomplishment that King James turned over to him the translator's manuscripts of what is now known as the King James Bible, for the presumable purpose of checking, editing, and revising them. The documents remained in his hands for nearly a year. That's right. Sir Francis Bacon was the editor of the King James Version of the Bible. William T. Smedley writes, "It will eventually be proved that the whole scheme of the authorized version of the Bible was Francis Bacon's. The first edition of the King James Bible contains a cryptic Baconian headpiece." Did Bacon headpiece? That's I guess that's what we call nowadays a header. Forgot what it's called. All right, headpiece. Anyway, did Bacon cryptographically conceal in the authorized Bible that which he dared not literally reveal in the text? The secret Rosicrucian key to mystic and Masonic Christianity? I don't know. Sir Francis Bacon unquestionably possessed the range of general and philosophical knowledge necessary to write the Shakespearean plays and sonnets, for it is usually conceded that he was a composer, lawyer, and linguist. His chaplain, Dr. William Raleigh, and Ben Jonson both attest his philosophic and poetic accomplishments. The former pays Bacon this remarkable tribute: "I have been induced to think that if there were a beam of knowledge derived from God upon any man in these modern times, it was upon him, for though he was a great reader of books, yet he had not his knowledge from books, but from some grounds and notions from within himself." Sir Francis Bacon, being not only an able barrister or lawyer, what we would call a lawyer, also a polished courtier. Also possessed that intimate knowledge of parliamentary law and the etiquette of the royal court revealed in the Shakespearean plays, which could scarcely have been acquired by a man in the humble station of the Stratford actor. Lord Verulam, furthermore, visited many of the foreign countries forming the background for the plays, and was therefore in a position to create the authentic local atmosphere contained therein, but there is no record of William Shakespeare's ever having traveled outside of England. Yeah, I think Lord Verulam was actually another name for Sir Francis Bacon. I believe that's what they're talking about. The magnificent library amassed by Sir Francis Bacon contained the very volumes necessary to supply the quotations and anecdotes incorporated into the Shakespearean plays. Many of the plays, in fact, were taken from plots in earlier writings, of which there was no English translation at that time. Because of his scholastic acquirements, Lord Verulam could have read the original books. It is most unlikely that William Shakespeare could have done so. Abundant cryptographic proof exists that Bacon